Hello, I'm back. A lot of things have been going on personally, and that's why I haven't been on here lately. But last night was the draft. I know most people are probably were expecting me to do a live draft coverage. I thought about it, and I was going to do it, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to sit here for 3.5 hours, and like an hour and a half of it's just me sitting here with nothing to do because they can't just pick people and pick people and pick people. They have to, pick a guy, talk about it for 20 minutes, talk about whoever the next team might take for 20 minutes, and then take a guy. So I decided it was just going to be easier to just recap it later, which is what I'm doing. I'm going to recap round one today, and then I'll recap all the other rounds on Sunday. Yeah, because it's Saturday, Sunday. Sunday will be the end of it. I'll probably recap during the draft, in like around six or seven, because they speed through 6 and 7, so I might be able to do it then. All right, let's crack this baby open. This is the draft recap. So obviously, most people knew this was going to happen. Arizona took Kyler Murray first. Um, Not a huge fan of Kyler Murray, simply because I just don't know how he will translate into the NFL. Everyone wants to compare him to Russell Wilson. He does have Russell Wilson traits. However, Russell Wilson had a drive and a fire to be in the NFL, and Kyler really doesn't. He was like, yeah, if I slide to like 5, I'm just gonna go play baseball. It's like, wait, I thought you were gonna play football. Well, no, if I don't end up making more money. Oh, see, it's a money thing for him, so that's concerning to me. Um, but solid pick considering the fact that he's going to the Cardinals. He's going to run into some issues, though, that they don't really have an offensive line. So maybe they should try and patch that up a little bit because I don't think he can ad-lib all year. I think he's going to have to be able to stand back there and throw to win games. Now we go to a team that plays the Cardinals twice a year, and that'd be San Francisco. The Niners, again, obviously, took Nick Bosa. I think that's a very good pick. Nick Bosa is a very strong edge rusher. He can get to the quarterback. He has fast movement. He's very good with his hands, and he's able to get around corners and bend and be able to take out quarterbacks, running backs, and get in the backfield. So I thought that was a very good pick. Number 3, the New York Jets took Quinn Williams, defensive tackle out of Alabama. I actually called this pick. I was sitting on the couch watching it, and I was going, okay, they're going to take this guy. They're going to take this guy. This team's going to take this guy. And, Quinn Williams, I don't necessarily care for Quinn Williams because defensive tackles from Alabama, actually most players from Alabama, they get to the NFL and they kind of just disappear. But I thought going to the Jets was a good pick because now they have a solid defensive line and they can get after quarterbacks, get after get after running backs, D tackles, and get in the backfield. And this guy does have some traits that are scary. That he is very fast for how big he is. So, good for the Jets. I think that's a very good value pick. That was one of those where it's the best guy available, and that is the best guy for them that is available. Next, we go to the Raiders, and this one actually kind of shocked me a little bit. I mean, I knew they were going to go DN, but I just didn't think they were going to grab this guy. The Oakland Raiders selected Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. I apparently seem to be the only one that knows how to pronounce his name. Maybe that's because I actually watched a few Clemson games last year. Clelin Ferrell, as he wants to be called, is a very good defensive end. He's very fast. Again, you're going to hear me say that a lot with some of these defensive ends. Some of these defensive ends they have very similar traits. He's a big man. He's very quick. He uses his hands very well to get away from offensive tackles. He comes off the tackle very well, and he can get in the backfield. And the guy just has, I mean, when you turn on the tape for this man, he is scary. So I thought that was a great pick for Oakland. I thought they were going to go somewhere else, but that's a great pick for them to try and help out this defense. Next, you go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay picked Devin White. I Also want to say I called that one too, because I did. Devin White will be replacing Quan Alexander. I think he's better than Quan Alexander. I think he's just got a little bit better coverage. And he's also quicker. He's getting in the backfield a lot faster, able to be able to tackle quarterbacks and running backs much easier. He's also going to be able to cover tight ends a little bit better than I think Quan Alexander did. Next, we go to the pick that made me want to beat my head against a brick wall, and that would be the Giants. The Giants took Daniel Jones. Now, it's not that I don't like Daniel Jones. I just don't like him at 6. I would have liked him better at 17. I said that when I was actually in the living room watching it on the couch. I said, they're either going to take Dwayne Haskins, I said, to replace Eli. I said, or I have been hearing they like Daniel, and I was like, they'll take Daniel Jones, but I think they'll take him at 17 because that would be smarter. They didn't. They took Daniel Jones at 6. I understand he's very smart. He's very good with the whiteboard. He does have a decent arm. I'm not going to say that he can't throw. And he's more athletic, but he actually does kind of remind me of Eli. Not as good with the deep ball because he didn't really see it happen. I'm not saying he can't throw it deep. I'm just saying they didn't really do it in college, so I have a question on that. Now, am I saying that he can't go on the field and just chuck it, 50 yards? Not at all. I'm just saying I didn't see him do it. So I have questions on it because it's like, okay, well, you didn't do it in college, so why didn't you do it in college? Was it just that, the play calls were don't throw it deep? Because I know that they didn't have anybody. There's nobody else being drafted out of Duke this year. Or really anybody out of the last couple of years out of Duke. I mean, there's been like a safety. I think they had one safety and like one corner or something like that in like the last 4 or 5 years. So, you look at that and you say, okay, well, you have Daniel Jones and he can play. Sure, he can play. He's got athleticism. We've seen him run at the combine. I've seen him run in games. He has some quickness. He can get away from people. He's got a pretty good arm. But he didn't throw it deep. And my question mark on that, like I said, is either, okay, was it just play calling and because of the personnel, look, we're not going to be able to throw it deep because we just don't? Or was it, I can't really get it out there that far, so we'll just have him run a 10-yard post to throw it to him? I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping that he ends up being a good player because the Giants have really been going through hell the last few years. Now we go to Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars picked Josh Allen. Now a lot of people are probably like, why do they want to get Josh Allen? Well, that's a value pick. That was the best guy available. Josh Allen is a very good guy off the edge. He can bend. He can get open around the edge. And as we saw with him in Kentucky, he can get to the quarterback. Now I have some question marks on him as to whether or not his particular skill set will translate in the NFL. Simply because a lot of the times what he did in college is he beat you with speed. He beat you with speed and slight hand movement around the edge with the bend. Now, the bend and hand movement will translate, but I don't know if his just pure speed will do it because a lot of guys in the NFL are fast. That's one of those things I always think is funny. You hear that from receivers and everything else. Oh, I'm real fast. Okay, you realize where you're going. Everybody's fast. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful he ends up producing. But I have some questions there. Good pick. I'm not upset with the pick. I thought it was a great pick for Jacksonville, but yeah, I don't know. I have some question marks on him still. Now we go to 8. Another pick that made me go, really? What are we doing? And that is the Lions. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are also going to argue with me about this, that it was a good pick. I'm not saying it wasn't a good pick, and I'm not saying it wasn't a value pick. I'm just saying I didn't care for it at that particular moment. I thought if you maybe, I don't know, did this thing called trade down. Because I still thought he was going to be available on the board. But anyway, whatever. So 8. The Detroit Lions select T.J. Hawkinson, tight end out of Iowa. I like T.J. Hawkinson. I think that he's a very good tight end. He is your version of the tight end that everyone would say. He's the prototype guy. He's got some height. He blocks very well. He's a good catcher of the ball. Here's where I have a problem with it. The Lions picked up Jesse James this year from Pittsburgh. He's the prototype tight end also. So I'm not saying that, we don't need two of them so we can bookend the edges and be able to, protect Stafford and also have two decent receivers. But I don't like that at 6. Or, not 6, 8. I don't like that at 8. I don't like the pick at 8 because they just don't really take tight end to the top 10. Now, am I saying that he wasn't top 10 talent? Not at all. He was very, very good. He's a very good player. My problem with it is that's not who you take at 8. I was kind of leaning corner. That would have been good. Or defensive line. That would have been good. At 8, there really weren't any offensive linemen, so that's understandable why they didn't go that way. I would have liked to have seen you trade down, and I don't want you to trade down very far, but I was thinking maybe trade down to 14 and then take Hawkinson. Then I wouldn't have been upset at all. I'd be going, oh, cool, we got a couple picks and we got the guy we wanted. All right, cool. Also, the reason why I was upset a little bit with that is because we could really use some help on the defensive line. And the next pick did that exactly. Buffalo Bills, at 9, selected Ed Oliver. A beast at defensive tackle. Very fast. The guy could play linebacker, basically. It's what we were told out of Houston. And I heard that rumor that, we might want to play him at linebacker. And I was like, pah! You don't want to stick a defensive tackle at linebacker. I don't care how physical he is. I don't care how much athleticism this guy's got. You just don't do it. And then I watched some tape on him. And I said, oh, the guy's pretty athletic. Still don't know if I agree with that linebacker thing. And then I watched him at the combine. And I went, oh my goodness. I changed my mind. This kid could play linebacker. I wouldn't put him there. But it's one of those where it's like, wow, he's got the physical traits. And he's got the athleticism to be able to be at that position. So you're like, wow, I'm just stunned. And so, that's a really good pick. The guy's a beast. And I like that pick. Congratulations, Buffalo. You got yourself a hell of a player. Now we got the kind of shocker for me out of the draft. And that was Pittsburgh sliding all the way up to Denver's pick at 10. Denver traded with Pittsburgh. They ended up going up to 10. And the Pittsburgh Steelers selected who I thought Denver would take, Devin Bush. Out of Michigan, linebacker. Now, Devin Bush, a lot of people are going to probably be upset about that. I know several people that I heard talk to that were kind of on the pick. Look, here's what you're getting. You're getting a guy that's very quick, he's good in coverage, and he loves to blitz. And he is a vocal leader. Kind of what you had in Ryan Shazier. So, imagine having two of those guys. If Shazier does come back on your team, that would be a very formidable linebacking corps with Devin Bush and Shazier. Bush is a little short, and I know that a lot of people want to mock him for that, he's only 5'11". Yeah, but for being only 5'11", he plays at 6'1", 6'2". So, he's a very good player, a very prototypical type linebacker that you want. The guy that can be in coverage, and I'm not saying that he's amazing in coverage. No, he's not. But he's good. He's good enough to be able to be in position for the plays that you need him to be. He's very good at blitzing. That's something that he is excellent at. I would know that firsthand from him playing my team that I love. I don't actually play, obviously, but playing Notre Dame. That when he blitzed, we had to make sure we kept an eye on him because he was coming. And he's also good at just having the knowledge of knowing where the ball is going to be. Something else that you just can't have enough players. You can never have too many guys that are good at being just a dog. I hate to say that word because people use it too often, but that guy who wants to be on the field, all 4 downs, wants to be in there, he wants to beat people up. That's the guy you want. Now I go to the Bengals at 11. They picked Jonah Williams, tackle out of Alabama. Now Jonah Williams, I personally thought you might want to slide him inside the guard, and they might. I don't know. But he's a very formidable tackle, very, very long arms, good player. I'm not upset with that pick either. Not a big fan of Alabama, but their offensive linemen have been pretty spectacular lately. So, hey, good pick. Then the Packers made one that made me kind of scratch my head, and then I thought about it some more, and I understand why they did it. The Packers at 12 picked Rashawn Gary out of Michigan. Now, I don't care for Rashawn Gary. I think that because he can only bull rush, that's a huge red flag that I don't like. That's the only thing he does. I would actually like to kind of slide him inside maybe to D-tackle because he's so athletic and so big that you go, I mean, he moves very well for a bigger guy. Maybe I want to put you at tackle because then I can have you beat you with the athleticism. But they're going to keep him at D end, my understanding is anyway, based on what they said for what he's going to be. They didn't say D line, they said D end. And then I thought about somebody that they had talked about a little bit on the draft coverage, and I didn't really think about him this way until I saw it, and that is, he kind of reminds me of B.J. Raji. Now, B.J. Raji was a bigger guy and possibly not as athletic. I mean, just because Rashawn Gary's insanely athletic with quickness. And not that B.J. Raji wasn't an athletic guy. It's just that I think he's the more athletic version of B.J. Raji. And I didn't think about that until they started talking about B.J. Raji a little bit. That, remember a couple of years ago they took two defensive guys. They took Clay Matthews and B.J. Raji. Well, as obviously B.J. Raji went first, but it was Raji and Matthews. And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I said, oh, Rashawn Gary kind of reminds me of B.J. Raji. I mean, B.J. Raji was I hate to pick on the guy for weight, but he was a bit bigger guy, weight-wise. But he was pretty athletic, and he did very well for them. And I was like, oh, Rashawn Gary's kind of like that guy. And so, I think that was a solid pick after I thought about it a little more. All right, let's scroll down a little bit. Ooh. I wanted to be able to see 13. There we go. With the 13th pick, the Miami Dolphins took Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, out of Clemson. Now, the Dolphins have kind of said they're kind of planning on throwing the towel this year because they want to be able to get, their team rebuilt. That's what they're doing. They're rebuilding from the ground up. And I think Christian Wilkins is a great choice to be in a rebuild because he's a very good player. He's very fast. He's very physical. He does get to the quarterback quite well. He gets in the backfield quite a bit. And, I thought that was a great pick for them because now you've got a really good piece on your defensive line that you can build around. At 14, the Atlanta Falcons select Chris Lindstrom out of Boston College. Now, my first thought was, really a guard? I don't know how I feel about that. Then I thought about it a little bit. And, you've got to protect Matt Ryan. And that has been a bit of an issue. So, good. Build around him. Build an offensive line. Now, Lindstrom out of Boston College did a hell of a job. He's very good. He's got good hands. And he's that guy that he is like a brick wall. You're really not getting around him. So, that was a very good value pick, I thought, for where they are. 15. This is a pick that I am happy about and not so happy about. The Redskins selected Dwayne Haskins. Now, Dwayne Haskins, very good quarterback, very good movement in the pocket. Not the most mobile guy, but he can get you 2-3 yards apiece. Think of like Tom Brady. If he takes off, he's not going to gain 90 yards, but he can get you 4 or 5, which, not to be crass, but, 4 or 5 yards is not that bad. I'm fine with it. I'm getting him for his arm. That's what I want. I want the leadership in the arm, which is what Dwayne Haskins has. His problem is he went to the Redskins. What's wrong with the Redskins? No wide receivers to speak of. No offensive line to speak of. So, unless they patch up that offensive line, he's going to get hit a lot. I think that could be a problem. Not saying that they can't do it, just saying, ouch. 16, Carolina Panthers select Brian Burns, edge. I am happy about this pick because he does kind of remind me of a guy they had in Julius Peppers. Very tall, very long arms, very good with the bend to get around the edge. I'm happy with that pick. I think that, you got yourself a guy that can really get around the edge and can beat people up and get in the backfield. Good pick. At 17, you have the New York Football Giants. They selected, that was the pick they had from Cleveland. Cleveland, of course, gave them that pick in the trade for Odell Beckham. they selected Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson. Dexter Lawrence, I have a couple question marks on because, he did get popped for steroids. So that's a concern. But he is a big physical guy, and he does get in the backfield, and they do need help on the defensive line, so that's a pretty good pick. At 18, Minnesota Vikings select Garrett Bradbury, center out of North Carolina State. I'm a big fan of Garrett Bradbury. I think they're going to put him at guard. I don't necessarily care for that, but I think he's a very good value pick. He's a very good player. I had him pretty high on my board. He was my number one center. So considering that they went and got him, that's pretty good. He's a very good blocker. Sorry. I know that's the one thing you want to hear when you hear me coughing, right? Number 19, the Tennessee Titans select Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. They, of course, kind of reached here. Sorry, I have a thing in my throat. Frog in my throat, if you will. Tennessee, why do I say they kind of reached here? Well, I thought Simmons would fall a little bit more than this, simply because he tore his ACL. So he's injured. Not sure if he's going to be able to play this year is worth the conversation, but I like his physicality. I like his anger, if you will. Again, kind of like he's a dog. He likes to get in the backfield. He wants to hit that quarterback. He wants to get that running back, which is something you want on the defensive line. And Tennessee does need help there. So I thought that was a very good value pick in the essence of nobody else probably thinks of him right now because he tore his ACL and he might not play. But down the road, he's going to be that guy. All right, now we go to the Broncos at 20. They, of course, traded with Pittsburgh, and now they're at 20. They take Noah Fant, tight end, out of Iowa. I like Noah Fant. Noah Fant is basically like a wide receiver at that position. He's not good at blocking. He's not as good as blocking, I should say. He's not that he can't. He's just not as good at it. But he's very good at catching the ball. He's very good at running routes. I like that pick. I think that's a guy that you could get. Definitely help out your quarterback. And Joe Flacco. And Flacco kind of likes those guys the more, but kind of, I think like a Dennis Pitta. Well, Pitta could block, but, along those lines of where he could basically be like a wide receiver. Now we go to 21, which was a trade. Seattle with Green Bay. Green Bay slides up, and they take Darnell Savage, safety, out of Maryland. I like this pick. I think Darnell Savage is a very good safety. I had him kind of high on my board. I had him at like my number 3 safety. And I think that he's a very good talent, and I'm actually pretty thrilled that they got him. Good player. 22, Philadelphia Eagles select Andre Dillard, Washington State. They traded with Baltimore to climb up the board. And I like this pick. Andre Dillard is very good in pass coverage. We'll see how he does in run coverage. That was always a question mark on that because at Washington State, they really don't run the ball. But based on all things I've heard, that is something that he can do. He can run block. I haven't seen it, so I can't say like, oh, he's amazing. Don't know. Everything I've heard from his camp says that he can totally run block. It's just that they didn't do it, which I believe. He's a physical freak beast of a man. Great pick. Very happy. 23, we go to Houston. They select Titus Howard. Now, I have a question mark on this. There were other guys on the board here. Now, it's not that I don't like Titus Howard, but he went to a smaller school in Alabama State. He does block quite well, but with other guys with names that came from big colleges that we know can produce on the board, I have a question of why did you take this guy? Now, again, I've never met the man. I've never had a private workout with him. I've never seen him. I didn't even see his pro day because it's just not available. And I don't know if he was at the combine. He might have been. There were so many people at the combine at this point that it's hard to remember who's who sometimes. So, I don't know. They must have seen something from him that made them go, oh my God. 24, the Oakland Raiders select Josh Jacobs, running back out of Alabama. They traded with Chicago to, of course, get that pick. They gave them Khalil Mack. Now, Josh Jacobs is a very good running back. I, of course, have some question marks on him just because, he didn't have a lot of rushing yards. Now, of course, I know why he didn't. He shared the backfield with 3 other people, so it's one of those where you go, well, somebody's going to lose some yardage here. But, it was just one of those where you go, okay, well, so you didn't run the ball as much, so I can't see as many red flags for you. Now people are saying, well, that's good, I didn't see any red flags. Well, no, because he didn't get the ball that much. So the question isn't, does he have red flags? The question is, okay, what are the red flags that we're not seeing? Because he didn't run the ball that much. Now, a plus with him being not, the bell cow, if you will, not being the number 1 guy. He doesn't get hit as much. He has a little less mileage of being slammed into on those legs. And he had to sit for a little bit, kind of because the other guy was more the guy. Even when he was the number 2 2 years ago, he was the certified number 2. I have to make sure I say that. He was really the number 2 guy. He was able to sit for a minute. He was able to learn a playbook. So that tells me that he can learn a playbook if we run a little differently than they did in Alabama. So, good pick. I'm not upset about it, but I have some questions there. Now, the Ravens traded with Philly, so they slid down to 25. At 25, they took a guy that I actually really like this pick for their offense. The Baltimore Ravens selected Marquise Brown, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I like Marquise's speed. I like his hands. He can catch the ball very well. I like his ability to run routes. This helps out their offense a lot. It also really helps Lamar Jackson. So they can run reverses with him. They can throw him in the flat. He's good at running routes. Great pick. 26, Washington Redskins trade with Indianapolis. And they take Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State. I like this pick a lot. I had Montez Sweat as my number 2 or 3. Edge man. He's got long arms. He gets people away with those arms. He's got a good bend. He gets in the backfield. I know you guys are going, he said this about like everybody. Must be he doesn't know what he's talking about. No. A lot of these guys do a lot of the same things very well. Now, Montez Sweat does something that a couple guys don't do, and that is that his bull rush is good. His speed around the edge is good. His hand movement to get slap hands out of the way to get people off of him is very good. So he was my number 2 or 3 guy because he does everything really well. A lot of these guys do one thing amazingly, and everything else is just okay. I'll use Rashawn Gary as an explanation, as a example. His bull rush is insane. He's very good at bull rush. Doesn't really use a lot of speed off the edge. Doesn't really use his hands to slap people away from him, and he doesn't really get in the backfield because he used a bend around somebody. He more or less just grabbed a hold of the guy because he's such a physical freak and went, I'm going to put you wherever I want you to go. Now, Sweat, on the other hand, he can do that. He can pick you up and go, I want you to go that way. He can also grab one of your hands, slap it out of the way, and spin around you. He can also just run full force at you with speed and beat you around the edge. So, great pick. Very happy with that. Number 27, this was the trade for Dallas. Dallas and Oakland traded when they got, of course, a wide receiver that we're not going to talk about because that was a stupid idea. I think the same thing with the Josh Jacobs pick, because they got Chicago. I don't mean that with Josh Jacobs. I think that's a good pick. What I mean is the fact that they have that pick in particular, that they gave them Khalil Mack. You are an idiot. Whoever was running that team at the time, you're a moron. Oakland Raiders, they take, at 27, Jonathan Abrams, my number 1 safety. Jonathan Abrams is a physical guy. Sorry. He loves to hit people. He is a very physical guy. And I like him in coverage, but I like the fact that he is a hard-nosed, hard-hitting guy. You don't want to get hit by him. And so that I really like this pick. It also really kind of fixes the problem at safety for them. So really, really solid choice. Now we go 28, the Los Angeles Chargers. They, of course, picked my man, Jerry Tillery, defensive tackle, Notre Dame. What can I say about Jerry Tillery? He's 6'7", despite what you'll hear at the combine that he's 6'6". That's horseshit. He's more like almost 6'8". He's like 6'7" and a quarter. He's 300 and some pounds of just pure muscle. The man can beat you with speed. He can beat you with his hands. And he can run you the fuck over. First F word. Someone wants to do a shot for that because I heard a buddy of mine said he did that. Have at it. Do a shot. I said fuck. Happy. He is just a physical freak. He is a big, big man. And I'm very happy they picked my boy out of Notre Dame. We finally got a pick in the first round for this year. Everybody else will go second round. Well, the top two players will go second round. The rest of them are third and fourth. Well, I don't know. Sam might sneak up into two. Anyway, 29. The Seattle Seahawks select L.J. Collier, defensive end out of Texas Christian. They traded with Kansas City this past week when they gave them Frank Clark. Now, I have question marks on L.J. Collier just because he played at Texas Christian and their defense was only really kind of this year. Their offense is usually not very good, but their defense is usually stellar. And I'm not saying that they didn't play well. It's just that I think Bandigueux had the stats. I feel this way about Gary also, is that, you know, other guys on your team, because of you, got the stats, but you were able to get back there and create for the other guys, like Ben Bandigueux and other defensive tackles. So I'm very happy with this pick. I think that's a good guy. He's very, very strong. I'm very, very happy to see they got L.J. Collier. It's a good pick. The New York Giants. So this is where I have to go through like 9 names. This pick was originally New Orleans. They traded it to Green Bay. Green Bay for last year. Now Green Bay traded it to Seattle so they could slide up with that other pick. And Seattle gave this pick to the Giants. Now, the New York Football Giants select DeAndre Baker, cornerback out of Georgia. DeAndre Baker is one of those guys. I was kind of hoping Seattle would take him because he kind of reminded me of a guy they used to have in Richard Sherman, where he is good at pretty much everything. He can play in man, he can play in press, he can play in zone, and you don't really throw at him. That's one of those things I heard people talking about. Well, he doesn't have a lot of stats that, you know, like in this game, he had like 1 block pass, and that's it. So, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you know why he had 1 block pass? It's the one time they threw at him. Otherwise, they didn't. They stayed away from him. So I'm interested to see how he'll do with the Giants. I think that's a great pick that really helps the secondary that was awful last year. Now I go to 31, the Atlanta Falcons. They took a guy that kind of slid up the board just because of his workout and because of his talking. And then once he started telling you how he played and how, you know, I am this guy, you flipped on the tape and you went, oh, I didn't notice you. Yeah, you're right. You are that guy. And that's Caleb McGarry. Caleb McGarry out of Washington. Now, this trade was, of course, with the Los Angeles Rams. They gave it to Atlanta. And Atlanta took, I think, a great choice in Caleb McGarry. The guy's a dog. He's got pretty good arms. He's very physical. The guy is one of those guys that, you know, he is going to meet you at the point of attack and drive you back. So that's a great pick for them. And then, of course, the last pick was the New England Patriots, and they took N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. I think that's a very good pick. N'Keal Harry is an excellent receiver. He's got some drop problems, but I also think that may have been part of the quarterback. I know I said that in my mock, my version of GM mock, which is if I'm the GM who I would take, which a lot of people I know were upset about because, you know, well, I talked to a couple friends of mine on the phone. And they didn't maybe say anything on the page, but they talked to me personally, and they were like, really? Your Kyler Murray sliding down that far at the time. Go watch it if you want to. It's on the Facebook page. And I was like, well, if I was a GM, yeah, I wouldn't want him. I'd rather take something I know I have as opposed to something that could be. It's just easier to do that, to go after something that you know you can have as opposed to, well, you know, well, it could be really good for us. Well, I'd rather take somebody I know I can play. In this case, N'Keal Harry. I like the pick because N'Keal Harry is a very good receiver. Has some drops, which is a question mark. But overall, I think it's a great choice, great pick for them. And I think that he will end up being a really big player for the Patriots. That is my coverage of round 1. That's the end of round 1. Round 2 starts today. Let's see, April 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to watch rounds 2 through 3, which of course I will, you guys can then hear me talk about that on Sunday, because Saturday is 4 through 7, I believe. Yeah. Yep, so Sunday, you're right. No, the draft won't be going on Sunday. For some reason, I thought they were doing 4, 5, and 6, 7. No, I think they do 4 through 7, 7. Anyway, that's that. Why do I have a headset on my head? Some people are probably wondering, why the fuck does he have that dumb, why he got that gay headset on his head? Me. It's because I'm not using my regular camera. I'm using the camera that's in the computer, and the audio on it sometimes sucks. So I figured we'd try this to see if it would be better. And on my testing, it was a lot better. So now you can hear me, and that'll do it. You guys have yourselves a wonderful day, night, morning, whenever the hell you watch this. Bye.